Hey guys, what's going on? Hermdo back with you. We're going to do another Candace Owens deep dive here. We got all sorts of new stuff, new footage, new clips, articles, all sorts of fun stuff to get into. We're dealing with Candace, who believes that the French government, under the direction of Emmanuel Macron, wants to assassinate her basically for talking about how his wife was born a man. It gets really, really bizarre here. It gets really, really bizarre. But a little basic timeline of events. Early 2024, I think it was March of 2024, Candace Owens starts bringing this stuff up. She's going with like Xavier Broussard. There's a couple other people in like French journalists that brought up the fact that Brigette Macron might be trans, and it's a big controversy. Candace Owens, for bringing this story up, she wound up getting fired. All this kind of stuff happens. The Macrons filed a 22-count defamation suit in Delaware against Owens and her media entities. The suit accused Owens of a campaign of global humiliation and relentless bullying for commercial gains. The claims that Brigette Macron was born Jean Michel Trogneux, if I'm totally butchering it, I apologize, which is the name of Brigitte's brother, and that the Macrons stole his identity, committed incest, and were part of a secret global plot, CIA or mind control operation, something to do with that, maybe MK Ultra, I'm not sure. Rather than retract, Owens responded publicly, releasing an episode titled Breaking, Brigette Sues Me for Defamation. In it, she reportedly doubled down on the claims. But let's get into some more of this stuff here. Yeah, this is French president and wife sue right-wing commentator Candace Owens for defamation. This is back about in July, I want to say. The French president, Emmanuel Macron, and his wife, Brigette Macron, are suing the right-wing commentator Candace Owens for defamation. The suit filed Wednesday in Delaware against Owens and her businesses. The Macrons say Owens is engaged in ongoing defamatory attacks against him in order to elevate her media platform, gain more audience, and make money. Owens said in early 2024 that she would stake her entire professional reputation on the fact Brigette Macron is in fact a man. Since then, she has doubled down on these claims and has added more, including an 8-part podcast series called Becoming Brigette. The lawsuit alleges the Macrons sought retractions from Owens. The suit says for the demonstrably false claims she made about them, but instead mocked them and used as additional fodder for her frenzied fan base. So yeah, that kind of stuff like that there. It's wild stuff. It's wild stuff, and it just gets more wild. She published a post on X, formerly Twitter, claiming that a high-ranking employee of French government told her that the Macrons had arranged a hit on her. According to her, the plot involved a specialized unit of the French Elite Force, GIGN, the National Gendarmerie Intervention Group, which she included at least one Israeli assassin. She expanded the allegations, stating that payments were funneled through a private French Club Descent, implying a shadowy network of elite actors. So we'll get into that a little bit more. We got a whole sorts of stuff, Candace. We'll let Candace, voice this kind of stuff herself. But yeah, this is basically. Now, apparently she was off the air for a couple weeks. Now, this is all from like 3 days ago. Candace Owens announced her show is off air this week, claiming French President Macron attempted to orchestrate her assassination. U.S. commentator Candace Owens declared that her show would not be broadcast this week, alleging that French President Emmanuel Macron started to orchestrate her assassination. Owens stated that White House and counterterrorism agencies confirmed receipt of her reports, which come after her ongoing unverified allegations connecting Charlie Kirk's assassination to the French Foreign Legions. Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA, was killed on September 10th. In an announcement on X, formerly Twitter, our show will be off the air this week for sharing an update about our current situation. It just goes on and on and on and on about this kind of stuff. There's an update. The White House and counterterrorism agencies have confirmed receipt of what I reported publicly. Emmanuel Macron attempted to organize my assassination. Per a source close to the first couple, I don't know where she's getting this. It just kind of goes on and on here. And this right here, this is a little bit of a debunk from Euro News.
Conservative influencer and podcaster Candace Owens has accused French President Emmanuel and his wife Brigitte of paying for her assassination in what she called an urgent X statement, which has garnered more than 40 million views. Owens has been leading the international fake news campaign, which alleges that Brigette Macron is in fact a man, leading the Macrons to file a defamation suit against her in July 2025. The conservative influencer provided no credible evidence to uphold her statements, alleging that a high-ranking employee of the French government had contacted her, revealing all. Conspiracy theory.
He was the one that wrote Becoming Brigitte, which was that expose allegedly discussing how Brigette Macron was born a man. There's some kind of CIA linked with this. This rabbit hole goes so deep. There's so much more to it. They were alleging that Brigette Macron was like in the Stanford prison experiment, and that's when she decided to transition. Apparently, this is according to Owens. We're going to look at some court documents in a minute here, but let's finish this video up.
Into the picture, claiming that he was also at risk of being killed. Owens went on to state that Tyler Robinson, suspected of having killed the conservative activist Charlie Kirk during a had trained with the French Foreign Legion. The allegation gained further traction after Telegram's controversial owner Pavel Durov described the allegations as plausible. But a spokesperson for France's Ministry of Armed Forces told Euronews that Robinson has never been a member of the Foreign Legion. Here, Owens accused the French Foreign Legionnaires of involvement in Charlie Kirk's assassination, stating that after the French Legion and US Marines carried out a joint training exercise in California, they held another one in Minnesota, a state Kirk was due to visit later on his tour. The French Armed Forces told us that there was no Foreign Legion training in Minnesota in the period Owens claimed.
Okay, but let's get into this. This is this court summons, or this is a jury trial demanded. Superior Court of the State of Delaware. In March 2024, Candace Owens, a right-wing podcast, told the world she would stake her entire professional reputation on the fact that Brigette Macron, First Lady of France, is in fact a man. Since then, Owens has used this false statement to promote her independent platform, gain notoriety, and make money. Owens disregarded all credible evidence, disproving her claim in favor of platforming known conspiracy theorists and proven defamers. And rather than engage with the president and Ms. Macron's attempt to set the record straight, Owens mocked them and used them as additional fodder for her frenzied fan base. We already kind of did, went over that earlier, but Owens did not stop there, retaliating against the Macrons for the audacity of sending her a retraction demand. Owens helmed an 8-part podcast series entitled Becoming Brigitte, the series, and accompanying ex-post. Through the series, Owens and her entities, Candace Owens LLC and George Tom Incorporated, endorsed, repeated, and published a series of verifiably false and devastating lies about the Macrons, in which this complaint is based. These outlandish, defamatory, and far-fetched fictions included that Ms. Macron was born a man, stole another person's identity, and transitioned to become Brigitte. Mrs. Macron and President Macron are blood relatives committing incest. President Macron chose to be president of France as part of a CIA-operated MK-Ultra program or similar mind control program. Ms. Macron and President Macron are committing forgery, fraud, and abuse of power to conceal these secrets. But Owens has taken it even further since the Macrons filed this action in July 23, 2025. Owens has unequivocally doubled down. She has continued to use her podcast to expand her lives with the Macrons, sell merchandise, making fun of the Macrons, and collect donations based on her reporting on the Macrons. Owens, with full knowledge of the lawsuit, launched a new season of Becoming Brigitte on September 2025, which she makes absurd claims that Ms. Macron participated in the Stanford prison experiment, which Owens claims is somehow linked to her later transition. Owens has gone so far as to say the Macrons are involved in the alleged conspiracy to distract Owens from investigating Charlie Kirk's assassination. So, yeah, that's the stuff right there. That's the stuff right there. But I'll have all this posted in the description so you guys can read through it as your leisure. I'll have some of these articles posted. We're going to go over more of this kind of stuff. There's more debunking, debate, this kind of stuff here. But let's transition to some clips of Candace discussing Brigette Macron, the Macrons in general. There's some talk about the planes, Erica Kirk. It all links up. There's something going on, something with the French government being the MK Ultra incest transgender people running the French government wanted Charlie Kirk assassinated. They trained his assassin. They flew an Egyptian plane from Utah or Idaho. I don't know where the fuck it is. But they had a Egyptian plane was tracking Erica Kirk. It just goes on and on and on. But let's watch a couple of these clips. I got a few clips. I don't know how many of them I can tolerate, but let's get into it.
And this new status angle is not something that seems subtle to me. When I consider that it was Charlie that called me, it was Charlie that said that they want me to stop speaking about Brigitte. And now I consider Satis, which according to our source.
This is a French company. She has them, apparently, I think I can't, there's so many threads to connect here, but this French company, this French corporation had something to do with, she said that they had something to do with Charlie Kirk or chartering the plane or something like that, or something maybe with the alleged assassination. None of this is like verified or confirmed. It's Candace in her own little brain making this stuff up.
Our well-placed source is a front, right? Suddenly this French company comes in and leases a hangar for only 2 years.
Oh, okay? Right.
And immediately this becomes a location where our Egyptian military plane is going to land in Wilmington, Delaware, not to get service. We know there was no maintenance happening because there was this lack of a lease since 2021, all of this now feels really interesting, very interesting. And don't forget that that same source claimed that after our Egyptian plane, tail number SUBTT, landed into this federally monitored hangar, that a foreign dignitary was then discreetly moved to 920 King Street.
Let's put a pin in that. Let's turn this off. Let's go back here. This is something on Twitter. This guy, Project Constitution's pretty much defending Candace Owens here. But it turns out, we discussed this in the last video, but this 920 King Street address, this is Candace Owens' lawyer, Richards, Layton, and Finger. The law firm representing Candace Owens in legal matters is located at 1 Rodney Square, 920 North King Street, Wilmington, Delaware. The same address she mentioned. Public records showed no DHS, FBI, or DEA offices there. That's what she goes on to claim. And as far as this, we're gonna rely on Steven Crowder here. Steven Crowder's gonna do some debunking for us. But it is Steven Crowder. I know I'm not the biggest fan of this guy, but let's see what he has to say about it regarding the plane in the hangar and whatnot and the tail number.
About me, just watch this clip, and to my everlasting shame, you'll understand.
I had to learn at a very young age to read people. I think that's my superpower, actually. Just being able to look at someone and sense danger. And by the way, I should mention with Steven Crowder, I have never been a fan. He just always gave me the energy of a pathological liar. They took out a clip of that book club, and accused me of accusing Erica of murdering her husband. I mean, they manufactured that claim out of thin air. And then they made it go viral. They sent it out to all the right people, Steven Crowder.
I think she was pushing some kind of claim that Erica and Charlie were about to get divorced. Did she have something to do with that? Like, apparently before Charlie was assassinated, Erica had filed for a separation or something like that. There's some rumors about that. I saw some other stuff alleging that she was responsible for that, or that Erica had some tangential relationship with that. But now Candace is denying that. I don't know why even bring it up in the first place, but it's Candace. Who knows?
I said he was betrayed by everyone. Obviously, what I meant was Erica Kirk murdered her husband. Now, these are all the instances in which this plane, 68 instances, that this plane crossed with Erica.
The Egyptian plane. I can spend a lot of time. No, Wichita, Kansas, by the way, is listed no less than 8 times as a destination on that spreadsheet for the plane SUBTT. It's an Egyptian-owned Dassault Falcon 7X. And just so you know, Wichita is like one of those primary, it's like a global hub in certified FAA service centers. And Dassault has had Wichita State University, a partnership with them since 2015. And this, what she just showed you, would be very much in line with basic service maintenance repairs. And of course, Candace, with the initial story, missed the time of the flight of departure from Provo by about 6 hours, confused coordinated universal time with Utah time. So none of this spreadsheet does zero to substantiate Erica's whereabouts.
Yeah, so it just goes on like that. Let's take a look at some of these comments here. Someone explained to me like I'm dumb because Crowder just doesn't do it for me. Is he just explaining away when an Egyptian plane will be in the same location due to maintenance issues? A coincidence? Is that what I'm understanding? Let's see some of the replies here. This is going to be fun. You need to listen to the whole podcast episode. There's a reason they're coming for her harder and harder each passing day and trying to discredit her. A lot of people, it's hard to find this debunked stuff. There's a few articles, stuff like that here and there. The Crowder thing. I know Crowder and Owens have been going at it back and forth for a while now. They don't like each other. It's been a big issue on the right. The civil war on the right is brewing because 2 idiot podcasters are screaming at each other. Yes, Egyptian military planes pulling into Utah for a fill-up is common practice. I mean, in Crowder's world, it is. Okay. Candace is using major airport hubs and then saying these 2 planes are both there within 3 days of each other. See, everyone's a conspiracy. Cool story. What's missing? Well, who's on the planes? Well, there are other planes that overlap this many times because it's a common destination. Crowder is saying this particular airport is a maintenance depot where private planes have to go for maintenance and inspection, even so many flight hours. So both planes were likely there for standard maintenance, likely empty. And Candace used it to pad her coincidence numbers. So, yeah, there's that. But let's get back. Let's check out another clip of Candace. She gets a little more further into this here. But yeah, it seems like the whole plane thing is just a weird coincidence. There's nothing to suggest. I mean, the address she gave was wrong. The time of departure for the planes was wrong. She confused, Universal Time with Utah time. That hub she was talking about is a maintenance hub. Plane was probably just there for maintenance. There's probably planes. It's a global hub. It's a plane from all over the world. Just because it's an Egyptian plane doesn't mean anything. But let's keep going with this.
On Israel at the exact same time that I began looking into the Brigette Macron story. That was in March of 2024. It was on March 13th, 2024, that I did the very first ever episode on Brigette Macron, right? And then, wham, I am fired within 10 days. It's a pretty quick turnaround. Charlie, of course, was a staunch defender of mine. Immediately when I got fired, publicly and privately, he held my back, and then suddenly donors start to squeeze him and tell him that I can no longer hit the stage at Turning Point's AmFest. They want me gone from the Turning Point roster, right? I bring my new independent show back in June. And the timeline, actually, when I start to put these things together, is interesting. So we're going to bring that up here because I like timelines. It makes things neat, right? So we are in 2024, right? March 13th, I do that first.
All right, let's take a look at this timeline here. Candace does her first episode ever regarding Brigette Macron on Daily Wire on March 13th. March 19th, she's fired. Mid-November, she begins communicating with Xavier Poussard, who was the author that, he wasn't the person to start it originally, but he was the one that kind of started picking up steam. I want to say that was 2021, 2022, when that Brigette Macron being a man news story started getting pushed. He published it in a magazine, and apparently he never got any retractions. So Candace takes that to mean that it's a truthful story and that Xavier Poussard is in the crosshairs as well. And then it gets into dealing with this kind of stuff. Public announcement that Satis, a French company, Satis maybe, has inked a deal in Wilmington, Delaware for a hangar. It includes federal oversight as a hangar on federal waterways. Apparently, Candace, they've been sending her these emails, but she hasn't been receiving them for some bizarre reason. But she believes that a French company leasing a hangar in Delaware is proof that Egyptian planes were spying on Erica Kirk. I'm trying really hard to put this all together. I'm doing the best job I can. I mean, if you guys have anything you want to add to this, leave it in the comment section down below. I'm not sure what the hell's going on here.
Episode regarding Brigette Macron, March 19th, just 6 days later.
All right. I'll tell you what. We already kind of covered that kind of shit. Let's move on to the next clip of Candace. Let me take a quick look here. I had some of this summarized here. This next one, this goes talking more about legal drama, more about the Macron's lawsuit, more stuff involving that kind of thing.
During an upcoming trip to London, Xavier Poussard is the person who wrote the Becoming Brigitte book. He has never been sued for defamation.
Yep.
And I was only going to interview him one time because he had never been on camera. And I thought that would be a great get. And I still believe that Brigette Macron was born a man named Jean-Michel Tragneau. Suddenly, on December 3rd, before I interview him, I receive the first ever cease and desist letter from Brigette Macron and her lawyers. And the funny thing is, I didn't receive it. They sent it to a really strange inbox that was not monitored, right? This is on December 3rd. You can see, please see attached the time-sensitive legal correspondence sent on behalf of our clients, President Emmanuel Macron and Brigette Macron. We urge you to provide this correspondence to legal counsel promptly. They sent it to the Club Candace info. I was totally a random box sent it to, so we didn't get it. We go back to our timeline, that's December 3rd, and 7 days later is when it's announced. That French company has inked a deal in Wilmington, Delaware for a hangar, okay? They're suddenly a French company, the CEO who knows Emmanuel Macron, we've confirmed that, decides they're going to sign a 2-year lease for an airport hangar to do what? To paint planes.
Okay. So that doesn't add up in Candace's brain, Candace's loopy brain. That doesn't add up. There has to be something more to it, something to do with the French couple trying to assassinate her and this Xavier guy. She's getting into a lot of trouble because she absolutely, positively can't stop talking about Brigette Macron being a man. It is really getting really bizarre. But yeah, it just goes on like this. Let's take a quick aside here, and this is from France 24. This next video here. Let me go ahead and turn my camera off so you guys can see a little bit better. But let's get into this a little bit. It's a quick video. We're gonna watch probably most of it, but just talking about some more of this kind of a little bit more of a debunking of what Candace has been saying regarding the French president and his wife.
Vedika Bahel is here on set with me. Hi, Vedika.
Hi, Yinka.
So, American far-right influencer Candace Owens has long had tensions with the French presidential couple due to sharing unfounded conspiracy theories against them. She's recently shared a new theory that the Macrons are plotting against her life. Let's get into it.
That's right, far-right influencer Candace Owens. She's long been feuding with the French first couple over her persistent and unfounded conspiracy theories that Brigitte Macron was born male. In fact, she said she's even willing to bet her entire career on it. Now, she's now shared a new conspiracy theory that the Macrons have in fact put out a hit on her life, amongst a whole slew of other things. Let's have a look. Now, on this post on X alone, which has over...
I mean, imagine being like the French president and having to like go through all this legal rigmarole, all this bullshit. Imagine being like the French Foreign Legion, like the Gendarmerie, however you pronounce it. You know, imagine like having to deny that Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin was being trained by your military. All this kind of legal mumbo jumbo, all this bullshit, getting your name dragged through the mud because Candace Owens is an insane person and she just keeps going and going and going and going, all just to prove a woman might be a man based on, I mean, I'm looking up for this kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, I guess people will see, like, it's not, for a conspiracy person, it's not good enough if just, like, a certain source, like Brigette Macron, the French president, or the French Foreign Legion denying it. If you accuse a figure of something and they deny it, in the conspiracy brains, that means that they're admitting to it. That means that, oh, they're acknowledging it. Just acknowledging it to deny it puts that idea in the conspiracy people's brains that it's real. You know, just to get someone to give it oxygen, give any of these ideas oxygen, it means it's a real thing in Candace's brain. But it just keeps going and going.
43, Owens says that she was alerted by a French government whistleblower that the Macrons executed upon and paid for her assassination. They said...
Does this guy have a name? Do you have any correspondence with this guy? Is there any kind of... People are just jumping on this with like no verification. And I know conspiracy stuff is going crazy lately, but you got to have receipts. Like, she's just saying this stuff. And apparently she also alleged that the White House is getting involved, that Trump knows about this somehow, or like somebody in the Trump administration is aware of this. This would be an international scandal. This would be absolutely massive. If there's any truth to this at all, if the French president was planning the assassination of an American citizen, it would be an international clusterfuck. It would be immense, enormous. And I'm not seeing it, baby. I'm not seeing it. Let's watch a little bit more of this.
More specifically, the green light was given to them. It was given to a team in the National Gendarmerie Intervention Group. That's also known here in France as the GIGN. It is a elite tactical unit of the French military. Now, she also goes on to allege that Charlie Kirk's assassin, Tyler Robinson, trained with the French military with multi-state involvement. And she goes on to claim that journalist Xavier Poussard's life is also at risk. Xavier Poussard is a French conspiracy theorist who is also well known for propagating this conspiracy theory that Brigitte Macron was born male. So
I did some cursory searches and stuff like that. There's not a whole lot. I mean, there's a lot of information about the Stanford prison experiments, but as far as like who specifically was involved, I mean, this was over 50 years ago. So, I mean, I don't know if the timelines match up. Brigitte Macron. She's 72 years old. So, I mean, she would have been, I guess that kind of matches up. I don't know what she's basing that on, though. I don't know. Let's watch a little bit more of this. I don't know what else to do. I'm like, what the fuck?
She said a lot of things, but there is actually these allegations that she's put forward with no factual foundation. Now, she is continuing to post online about this. Her latest claims is that the Macrons moved $1.5 million to put out this hit.
She has no proof of this, no like bank statements, no transactional history, nothing like that. She's just saying it. She's pulling it out of her ass. It's absolutely insane.
It's on her life. And she said that French legionnaires spent 3 weeks in the United States training with U.S. Marines in California, but also in Camp Riley in Minnesota. And she says at the end that French foreign legionnaires were involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
And Vedika, these claims are admittedly very far-fetched. Is there any evidence to them at all?
Well, that's the thing, Yinka. There's not any verifiable evidence to support any of these claims of an assassination plot. These are unfounded claims. Now, we did contact the French gendarmerie directly by telephone earlier today. That's who oversees the GIGN, the unit that she named in her post. Now, they dismissed this claim entirely, and they reaffirmed that their mission for that unit focuses on counterterrorism and on hostage.
That's enough. For conspiracy people, like I said before, the fact they had to deny it, the fact this came across one of the gendarmerie's administrator's desks and he had to issue a statement, that is proof positive, for some people, just acknowledging it. But you got to acknowledge it. It's absolutely ridiculous here. I don't know why she thinks Tyler Robinson got trained by the French Foreign Legion, these legionnaires. I don't understand. Where is all this coming from? I truly don't get it.
Rescue. Now, we also contacted the French Ministry of the Armed Forces. Now, they firmly denied any allegation that the Foreign Legion was involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We can see here in their email to us, they said Tyler Robinson, the Charlie Kirk's assassin, has never been part of the Foreign Legion, and if he hasn't served in an American unit, he cannot therefore be trained by the French Foreign Legion. Now, regarding what we saw in Candace Owens' post about joint training between American and French forces, well, that has taken place. That did take place for 3 weeks in August. That has been confirmed. But this isn't a secret operation in any way. It's been well published on the sites by the French army and on their social media as well. But what we did get from the French Foreign Legion is that they firmly denied that there was any training that took place at a Camp Riley in Minnesota up to the date of Charlie Kirk's death on the 10th of September. And why is that? Well, it's because Camp Riley, as confirmed here by a former congressional chief of staff in Minnesota, it's because Camp Riley does not exist in the state. Now, there is a Camp Ripley that exists in Minnesota, but if Candace Owens has made this kind of error, it does lessen the credibility of that claim somewhat.
Helvetica, Candace Owens is doubling down on this latest conspiracy theory. Why could she have taken this further?
Well, the nature of conspiracy theories is that they create a space where you can make such big, loud, absurd...
All right, I think we said, okay, so the camp is wrong. She got that wrong. The Egyptian plane itinerary she got wrong. She got the address, North 20 King Street, wrong. A lot of stuff she's getting wrong. She's not producing anything... I don't know. I'm trying to debunk this more. I'm trying to get more facts about this. I'm looking it up. I spent like an hour or two this morning looking stuff up here. It's hard to find this kind of crap because most of it just links back to Candace or Candace supporters, like the Candace Owens subreddit. That's a real fun time. A lot of crazy stuff on there. Basically just people on Reddit. I'm not sure the size of the subreddit. I got some links to it, but there's a lot of people on there who do believe, who do take everything Candace says at face value. But we're going to play a couple more clips. This one, I believe, let me double check here. She's talking about her new season of Becoming Brigitte, and how she's going to defy the legal ramifications of getting the French president involved and just continue with this series.
I'm not kidding. Elsewhere in that article, it tells us that it's a French multinational company that specializes in the painting of aircrafts, and they plan to open for business in a hangar not far from Wilmington Airport come the new year. So in 2025, this is going to be their hangar. Okay, interesting. Back to our timeline. That is publicly announced on December 10th, and then on December 18th, Tom Clare sent another follow-up email regarding the cease and desist. And again, I don't receive it because
That's the Tom Clare. That's the PDF we were reading about, just like we just scratched the surface of it. That's the one that was basically going over the case, the multitude of allegations that Candace Owens is making against the Macrons. But yeah, I'll post a link to that so you guys can go more into that. That's who Tom Clare is.
He's sending it to this random box. I am forever thinking in my brain now, what if I had received it? I would have been spooked. I would have thought that they were monitoring communications between me and Xavier Poussard, the obvious answer, because I hadn't been speaking about Brigette Macron on my podcast. So what was up with the cease and desist? I think my suspicion is...
Okay, so let me rewind that a little bit.
What if I had received it? I would have been spooked. I would have thought that they were monitoring communications between...
So go back here. So they said December 10th, December 18th. She sends a follow-up email regarding the cease and desist. Candace, again, does not receive it. But she said, what the fuck is she talking about?
What if I had received it? I would have been spooked. I would have thought that they were monitoring communications between me and Xavier Poussard, the obvious answer, because I hadn't been speaking about Brigette Macron on my podcast. So what was up with the cease and desist?
You were talking about her earlier in the year. Like, okay. Hold on 1 second. 1 second here. Here we go. This whole thing is, okay. Oh, Lord. Okay. Bear with me for a second here. Let's take a look at some of these videos she's been making. Okay. Let's talk about live. All right. This is all going back for a while. Okay. So they're saying December 18th of 2024, she hadn't been talking about Brigette Macron on her podcast. There's a lot of stuff on here. But, yeah. All right. This right here, hold on. Hang on. Right here, I got a legal threat from a sitting president.
All right, guys, happy
So
Friday.
10 months ago,
This is going to be the craziest Friday.
that would have been January. Yeah. Macron's filed this action on July 23rd, 2025. This international matter. This is from back in January. She got a legal threat back in January, but they didn't bring the lawsuit until July. Okay. It's all starting to fit together. You'll have to forgive me, but it's all starting to make more sense now. She hadn't been talking about it on her podcast. I didn't really see, to be perfectly clear with you. Let's go back to Candace Owens. Let's check this out. Let's just see. She hadn't been talking about it back when she got the legal trouble in late 2024, early 2025. This right here, this from 9 months ago, episode 1, 9 months ago. This all 9 months ago. Yeah, so she released the series 9 months ago, and then that would have been February, and then they brought the lawsuit in July. Apparently, according to her, she hadn't been talking about Brigette. Besides, I guess she made that initial, that's what's throwing me here. I guess she made that initial accusation in March of 2024, and then she didn't get a cease and desist until December of that year. I don't know. I don't fucking know. I tell you what, let's just watch. Let's play the next clip here. This is, she's talking about that becoming Brigette, sparking that viral outrage.
And on January 31st, I release the first episode of Becoming Brigette. Brigette Season 1 airs. And obviously, this show goes viral because it was a shocking story, an unbelievable story. People worldwide are going, what the heck is going on? It's not what the press told us. It really kind of, it shocks your core that the press could be in on telling a lie this big.
Okay, yeah. This one more thing here. Let's check this out here. This right here, Brigette Macron to show scientific proof she is a woman in lawsuit against Candace Owens.
The First Lady of France is doing something that may sound surprising. She and her attorneys are planning to try to prove that she is a woman. Stay with us here. Brigette Macron, wife of the French president, Emmanuel Macron, now says she is going to present scientific and photo evidence in court to prove her sex. This is part of the couple's court case here in the U.S. as they're suing the woman on the right side of your screen, conservative commentator Candace Owens, for saying on her platforms Macron was born male.
Brigette Macron was actually born Jean-Michel Trogneux. That is the person that you are seeing in
There's not a date on
this
this.
photo here on the far left. I would stake my entire professional
Okay, we know all about that. Let's watch maybe a couple more Candace clips. Running a little long here, but let's check this out.
And then on February 17th, we premiere my sit down with Xavier Poussard.
Here she's talking about White House pressure on her about the Brigette Macron thing.
Okay. Jumping back into this timeline, that's on the 17th that email comes, that we premiere that sit down interview with Xavier Poussard. And a couple of days later, on February 24th, Charlie Kirk reaches out and he tells me that the White House is asking me to stop speaking about Brigette. And he tells me that it is related to the peace deal in Ukraine. That is ostensibly the reason on this same day, February 24th, that's how quickly the phone call happened. This is the day that Donald Trump meets with Emmanuel Macron.
Now, this video I showed you talking about the news story where Brigette Macron had to prove that she was a woman. That's from a couple of months ago. That's probably after the lawsuit. Yeah, that's during the lawsuit. That was back in September or maybe August. But she was talking about, so a year and a half ago, she was talking about the Macrons, and that's why she lost her spot at the Daily Wire. Timeline is throwing me off here. But she was saying that she wasn't talking about Brigette Macron, but still, like, it's just such a goddamn mess. I don't know what the fuck.
Do we have that, by the way, the text message between me and Charlie? Here we go. Yeah, this is February 24th. I'm showing you guys this now. Hey, I have something to tell you from the White House. They asked me to call you. I'm just the messenger here, but it's important. I say, okay, I'm around, call me. Then we have the phone call, and then I was like upset about the phone call because I was pregnant, and then I felt bad, and I was like, okay, let me think about it, because I don't want people in Russia to be killed because I won't stop speaking about Brigitte if the Ukraine peace deal was at the center of this. And he says, okay. And then I tried to say, I will circle back tomorrow, or maybe I said tonight, call if you want to chat at all. And we did, we chatted. The next day, you can see he starts with the White House just asked for your number, FYI. I think POTUS might call you. And that's is not what happened. On February 25th, actually, Sergio Gore called me and asked me to stop speaking about Brigitte. And it felt more like an order than a request, and I did not respond in kind to that. February 20th, President Donald Trump calls me and asks me to stop speaking about Brigitte. Now, Charlie's in the middle of this. Communications are happening between me and Charlie about Brigitte, okay?
Okay, this has something to do. Now Charlie Kirk is roped into this thing. His assassin was allegedly trained by the French Foreign Legion, according to Candace Owens. This whole thing just keeps getting weirder and weirder. And then some kind of foreign dignitary was at this address. She was saying something to do with why would why would the president of France want to assassinate Charlie Kirk? Apparently, like, there was something like the French Foreign Legion that wanted to assassinate Candace Owens. There was an Israeli, allegedly, in this military group. And it had something to do with Israel, believed that like it was like an Israeli guy controlling the French Foreign Legion to brainwash or to train Tyler Robinson to kill Charlie Kirk. Why? Now she's roping the Ukraine crisis in here. Why they had to. So the Israelis are using the French Foreign Legion to train Tyler Robinson to kill Charlie Kirk because Charlie Kirk was questioning Israel. And they was also being spied on by Egyptian planes, something Erica Kirk might be related to, but she also might have been divorcing Charlie Kirk. I don't know. Let's just...
On July 1st, and by the way, the series was over, and I said I'll agree to be quiet about this for a while because it's no longer relevant, and I don't want, like, Christian men to be slaughtered in Ukraine because I'm not keeping my mouth shut. Now, on July 1st, Macron sends another legal threat.
Okay, so they're talking about Ukraine doesn't want people to get killed in Ukraine because you won't stop talking about Brigitte Macron's penis. All right, okay. Now this is where she gets into the Stanford experiment stuff, saying that Brigitte Macron was allegedly involved in these experiments in the 70s. Let's listen to this. Let's see where she goes with this.
Unusual it was that a dog was barking a bit too loud. You know, a thief that nobody was pursuing was running, and that was us discussing the MKUltra program, and Brigitte Macron, strangely, and Emmanuel mentioning MKUltra in the lawsuit to us 18 times struck us as odd as we were trying to determine whether or not it could have been Brigitte Macron that was involved in that Stanford experiment, this prisoner, 2093, that was being protected. We didn't know why this prisoner was being protected. We sent somebody there. There seemed to be more. And what really terrifies me is that if my inclination that Xavier Poussard's messages have been being read and tracked for longer than I even realized, and that's the reason they initially sent that cease and desist in December, was to ward me off sitting down with Xavier Poussard, then what we hadn't yet presented to the audience, but what we were investigating on the back end, if they were aware of that, it really makes me wonder if we were on the right track. And it was something that was so sinister, you know, involving maybe another step of the MKUltra program being used to foster serial killers and to give serial killers new identities and allowing them to run in countries. That was kind of conversations that I was having in the background with Xavier. And we thought that we had perhaps identified Brigitte Macron at Stanford University. A possibility is what I would say. We were maybe at a 50-50%. And then suddenly Charlie Kirk gets assassinated, and it totally throws us off of the scent entirely because we're trying to figure out what happened to Charlie. And now, strangely, trying to figure out what happened to Charlie has brought us back to a France question, right?
Okay. All right. I'm trying to look up a little bit about the Stanford prison experiment. I'm not getting too much here. I'm looking up Prisoner 2093. They talk about the Stanford prison experiment movie. It came out about a decade ago. Something to have to do with that. Talking about the film. I don't care about the film. So 2093. Hold on one second. 2093. Was nicknamed Sarge for being a model prisoner. There are three types of guards: the nice one who felt sorry for the prisoners and did little favors, the tough but fair guard, and sadistic guard John Wayne, who constantly degraded and humiliated prisoners. He didn't put prisoners' blankets in nettles, so it would take them hours to remove if they wanted to sleep. Others tried to cope by being good prisoners, doing everything the guards wanted them to do. Prisoner. Okay, and this whole thing. So there's different numbers, different designations of this stuff. This is such a fucking mess. I don't even know. But you know what? We're going to call it good right there. I don't want to go too much longer. I've been doing this for the better part of an hour. It's really starting to fuck with my head. I'm not sure where the hell Candace is getting off here. It's just getting really goofy and esoteric. But that's going to do it for me. Leave your comments in the comment section, the replies down below. Let me know what you think about all this stuff. Do you think Candace Owens is batshit insane like I do? Do you think there's any truth in anything she's saying? People are defending her. A lot of prominent people are defending her. We'll get into that at some point, too, and some of the stuff I'm hearing said about Candace by certain figures on the right and left. But yeah, like, comment, and subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll talk to you guys later.